everyone at one point in their life, they're wondering on the spiritual path or personal growth or self-development, am I growing? Am I going through my breakthrough? And how can I tell, Devi Mayi Ma? And that question came recently by a beloved follower. And what are the signs of a breakthrough? Because it can be very misleading and deceiving. What is a breakthrough? And why is it so important having a breakthrough? And so, what is a breakthrough? First of all, it's very unique to you, beloved. Deep down, what are your samskara, your personal impression, your karmic impression that turn into vasana, tendency? And so it's unique to your life, and breakthrough will be very different from every person. And so in order to go through a breakthrough, you will face a lot of adversity and even misery, suffering, pain. And why God, the divine, is testing me, you may wonder, which is the subject to do next satsang. This is a 3-part series, and we thrill about this because breakthrough are that important on the spiritual path. So you can celebrate every little baby step that you make, that you triumph. And wow, when you look at what are the signs, and because they're so subtle, sometimes you don't even know you have gone through a breakthrough. And you say, I'm not progressing in life. I'm not going towards the success, the thing I want in my life. And or some of them can be very, very obvious, but very often breakthrough can be subtle. And the subtle one, I will tell you, are the most powerful one. So the first sign is seeing things with clarity, with a discernment, viveka, with having a realization, an epiphany. And this is a very subtle one. And why it's so important is when you have this sign is it can completely change the course of your life, going in a completely different direction. So is the sign number 2. It's the same thing. I have seen it in my own life and around with my disciple and followers, so many of them, is to have a complete new perspective, a new perception about your life. And you are seeing things like they're related, each one of them, the clarity with having a new perception. But a new perception it's like a compass. You're moving your compass even by 1 degree or 2 degrees, then you will go in a completely new direction. And so another one is, I have seen it even with my own life, and that one is very misleading. And I want you to look at your life as I'm going through this and write down in the comment section which one hit you the most in the last few years in your life, that maybe you were blind to it, because most of the time people are blind that the sequence they have gone through, they have gone from adversity to pain to a test, a lot of tests, and then go through breakthrough. And there's 2 upcoming videos satsang. We're going to talk more about the second one in this. It's a 3-part series, so stay tuned. The second one is about, am I growing spiritually, evolving consciously, and how do I know that I have successfully gone through a breakthrough? And there, we're going to talk about tests in depth, and that will surprise you. A lot of things that you might not have gained realization over. And then the third one The following week later, it will be about why God, the divine, is testing me. And all of this, by the way, those are questions that came in from the same, actually two different followers. So the third sign that is, it can be, this one can be a little bit more obvious, but it can be very misleading, is that your energy, there's a shift of energy in you. Energy is very important when you go through a test in order to go through a breakthrough. And why it's so important to recognize it is because there's something you want, and often the divine doesn't give you what you want, gives you what you need, and a blessing comes. So normally it's that sequence: adversity, pain, and then you go through the test, and then following by the breakthrough, and then a blessing comes. But more in depth in the next satsang. So here the energy needs to be focused very straight in one pointed direction, and with motivation, with enthusiastic, and then you going like a skyrocket through the breakthrough. But that doesn't mean you will receive what you want and the blessing. And then the fourth one this one is very, very misleading, and you might not even be conscious of that one. Is sometimes it depends on the situation, because as I said, a breakthrough is very personal. It is based on your unique karma of samskara and vasana. So here is you facing an event in your life that brings a lot of misery, suffering, pain, hardship, and then you are forced to go through it. You don't want to, but you have no control over it. Like Amrita, let's talk an example. And Amrita got involved in a relationship, right? And she badly fell in love with this man. It was a boyfriend. They moved in too quick, and she didn't realize he was a drama addict and with all kind of compulsive behavior. And the relationship was very painful, with tremendous abuse, verbal abuse, and there were codependency. Does it resonate with you? For a lot of people, they don't realize, and they're in this kind of relationship, they're not aware. And it takes a long time for them to be aware. But then she was forced out of control to pull out of the relationship because he beat her up. She ended up going into the hospital, bleeding, seriously injured, and the police came, and she finally was released. He was put in jail, and she was finally released from the drama. And that was a breakthrough because she was forced into it. She has no choice. Another breakthrough would be that you have no control over. Let's say your mother-in-law, you're fighting all the time, and suddenly she passed away. And that sounds weird, but those things do happen. And certainly you come out of it and you realize that, oh my God, this was a test. How the divine was testing you for you to grow, and that you had a breakthrough because suddenly you came out of the relationship and you've been transformed. Because that's the secret, beloved. Through a breakthrough test, that sequence, test, breakthrough, and blessing always engenders some kind of suffering and pain and hardship to different level. And then you learn to bend like a bamboo without breaking. You become very resilient. I found the last one, and that happened in my life. You will love that story. Is the last one. That one is a tricky one too, and that might fool you a lot. It's like you want to run away. That's the sign. You put in a situation where you don't know how you're going to handle it. You are forced to go through it. It's different from the other one. This one is you want to run away. You have no choice, you have to face it. Not that the event of the phenomenon that is happening will break it, is that you are put into a spiritual process, because it is a spiritual process. Breakthrough tests and breakthrough are spiritual. It's intense. And it will bring about some metamorphosis. And so you want to run away, and that means physically, and that means emotionally and mentally. I remember way back, that was over, oh my God, probably 25, 28 years ago, when I was Gurudev, one of my spiritual masters way back then. I was in Canada. I was in my first silent retreat, and I was initiated into a Kriya, and I had never done this kind of Kriya. And I was getting a little dizzy, and there was a lot of intense breathing with taking on a lot of life force energy. And I just collapsed to the ground, and I started seeing past life, my past life. I have had many visions of my past life, and this one, first of all, the first time when we did it, let me backtrack, because I'm not telling you all the details. The first one we did it, I ran away, and I was sobbing and screaming, and I did not know what it was happening. It was just Mahashakti cleaning, purifying the physical and the subtle and the etheric body, and I ran away. And they call me, they say, no, don't run away, don't run away, because it's very important that you face through. This can be your biggest, the most blessing, the most beautiful blessing, the biggest breakthrough in your life. And so the sign is that you want to run away. And then the second day, we did again the same Kriya, 45 minutes, was very intense. And this time I said, okay, I was very conscious, and I said, I'm going to go through this, and I'm not going to run away, I'm going to face it. I was realizing this was a big breakthrough, and it was so powerful. And maybe some of you read it in my book, In Becoming the Light, Realize Your True Enlightened Nature, and my personal memoir, and it's full of so much insight and realization, and very insightful. So I started seeing all those faces, Indian faces, like looking, I was looking up, and they were looking down at me, and there were probably like several couple of them, and they had very distinguished feature. I could recognize them. It was really traumatizing, and I saw them one by one. And what came to me while I was going through that intense process and seeing it through my third eye was that it was one of my past life, probably even more very recent, probably the one even before I came into this body temple. I was in India, and this was most likely what I felt, my inner voice of otherworldly, beyond the physical, of the beyond, the inner voice, you know, that comes from the cosmic mind, from the Chitta, was telling me this was in my last moment when I was leaving my body, or maybe right after I had left my body, and I was purifying that karma. And so those can be the biggest breakthrough, and the blessing that comes with it. It's a liberation of complete samskar. It's a purification. So remember, every breakthrough will bring something very unique about you. Think about right now in your life, in this moment, take a moment, pause, close your eyes, And it's wonderful, as a loving community, we can share those things. Don't you agree? It's very important because everyone can learn from each other. And there can be a lot of insights. So what is for you that lately, or maybe you're going through one right now, write it down in the comment section in a minute or two, or after the video, at the end of this video. What is one that really struck you that maybe you didn't even realize that's a sign? And now you empower with this new spiritual knowledge and wisdom that you can take a really good close look at your life and see, wow, this year I have had like dozens of breakthroughs and I didn't even realize. So we want to celebrate you. Write it down in the comment section, and if you're new to our loving community, please join us, subscribe, share it with your friends and your family, and come to our Divine Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang every Monday, second Monday of the month. We go live Pacific time at 7 p.m. and it's always very powerful, and then you can interact with Devi Mayi Ma, ask questions directly. And what is that? So let's take a moment. Is that an insight, a change of perception, or a breakthrough that you feel your energy has been shifted? Your spiritual practices also could shift your energy and focus it in one direction, and then suddenly you're facing a lot of adversity and suffering and pain and obstacle. You think they're obstacle, but they're not. They're life lesson. Or maybe it is that you were forced into an event that was unhealthy for you, and you had no control over it, like a drug addiction. That's a common too, very common. I know of a disciple who was in that situation, and it's rampant actually on our planet. Or is it that you want to run away? So if it's one, like you want to run away, embrace personal transformation. That's what I would say. The insight of this and the wisdom is embrace personal transformation. Bring perseverance and patience, mindfulness and awareness. Bring awareness, consciousness, and the practice of mindfulness into becoming more conscious, that you become a conscious being. And that is the most beautiful gift that you can receive. And so just watch the upcoming video. It might be posted. If not, it will be the following week on part 2 of this mini-series on why the divine is challenging me and why I'm being tested. And so also there is a mini-series, I don't know if you watched that one, on mindfulness. It has 3 parts to it. And to learn, there are tools to become really mindful and aware, that when you go over the day, you can experience and get a glimpse of your divine presence. So namaste, and sending you so much love and blessing and grace on the path. And welcome for all of you who are new.